Well, hello and welcome to this English lesson about daily routines. Daily routines are all of the things that most people do every day on a regular basis, pretty much every day of their life. In this video, we will look at the time from when the workday is done until the moment you fall asleep. At the end of the workday, when I finish work, I go home. It's really nice to go home after a long day at work. In fact, you could say I'm going to head home. I go home and I head home are both very common phrases in English, and they mean exactly the same thing. And then, of course, before you go home, you might need to run errands. This is the act of doing all the little things in life that you don't do every day, but you do quite often. You might need to do all of the typical things that you might need to do throughout the week. Errands are usually done away from home, and they usually involve delivering something or picking something up. You need to get groceries. You may need to buy something from a store. You might need to pick up your laundry if it's at the dry cleaner. If you have dropped off the kids at school in the morning, you might have to pick them up from school, daycare, or wherever they are. If you are lucky enough, like me, to have a family, the next thing you do every day when you get home from work is you say hi to your darling wife and kids. I do have a wife and 2 kids to die for. But if you are lucky enough to be single, you might say, hello my lovely cozy home. So when I get home, I like to get changed. To get changed means to put different clothes on. I think this is a very common thing for people. So you may say I need to get changed, or I need to change my clothes. Those are 2 ways to say that you need to put on different clothes. After that, you sit on a couch and have a cup of tea or coffee. Meanwhile, you may want to read a book, surf the web, check your social media accounts, watching TV, and so on. And if you have a dog, if you have a pet, there are a few things you might do. You might feed the pet. Your daily routine might be in a slightly different order, and it might not include this one. After that, you may take your kids and their dog to the park so that they can play and you can go for a walk. You might think walking for exercise sounds easy, but it's harder than it looks. I usually walk very briskly. I walk very quickly, and I walk for about 45 minutes. The next thing I do in my day is I make dinner or I make supper. We have 2 words for the evening meal in English, supper and dinner. Sometimes you order takeout or takeaway. Takeout is when you make a phone call or you order online, and then you go to the restaurant and pick your food up in boxes. Or you might order delivery, which means you get, for instance, a pizza delivered to your house. So after you cook supper, after you make supper, you eat supper. Whenever I eat supper, I try to make sure that half of my plate is filled with vegetables, so that it is a healthy supper. And then you need to do the dishes, or you need to wash the dishes. Some people have a dishwasher. I do not have a dishwasher. So after supper, every night, we do the dishes. A very common activity that many do after they eat is to wipe the table off, or wipe off the table. And then to clean up the house. We don't do this every night. We actually do this more on the weekends, but often after supper, we will clean up the house. We will just tidy things up a little bit. Oh, by the way, a very common thing that you may hear in your daily routine is, will someone take out the trash? And then maybe you want to unwind. This is an English verb that means to relax. When you finally sit down at the end of the day, you might sit down to unwind, which just means to relax a little bit. It's a nice feeling. And you might sit down to watch the news. Maybe you are someone who likes to watch the news. I used to watch the news a lot. I don't watch the news as much anymore. But this was something that I used to do quite regularly, after supper every night. And we still do a bit, but I don't think as much as we used to. You might want to watch some Netflix. You might want to watch some YouTube. All of those phrases are very common. Maybe you enjoy grabbing your phone at night and checking Instagram. Although I recommend we do not do it right before sleeping. We use the verb to check a lot when we are talking about social media. You could also say that someone is on social media a lot. For instance, if you're talking about teenagers, you may say, she's on social media all the time. That's the same as looking at Instagram, Facebook, or one of the other main social media apps. And then eventually you are going to say good night. So you might say good night to your lovely kids. You might say good night to your darling spouse. You might say good night to someone on the phone. Maybe you phone your mom or dad every night to say good night. But one of the last things you do at the end of the day is that you say good night to people. And then you're going to get ready for bed. So when you get ready for bed, this involves maybe putting on pajamas. One of the other things someone might do is to take medication. So they have to take a pill every day and they do that at night. It's one of the things they do when they are getting ready for bed. There is a variety of things that you may do to get ready for bed. I get ready for bed by getting changed. I brush my teeth. I usually go to the bathroom or use the bathroom. And then you get in bed. So you can say you get in bed, you go to bed, you get into bed. All of those are equally common in English. Oh, by the way, at the end of your day, you might also have a shower or take a shower at night. It can depend on what kind of work you do during the day. When you work inside, you have a shower in the morning. In the summer, when you are not working inside and you work on the farm or in the garden, you have a shower before you go to bed. So it depends on how dirty your work is. When you work on a farm, you get dirty. Your hands get dirty, your neck gets dirty, your everything gets dirty because you're working outside. So you might have a shower at the end of the day and then you're going to get in bed. And then you need to set your alarm clock or you need to set your alarm. Someone may still have an old-fashioned alarm clock. Most people these days just set an alarm on their phone. But you need to set your alarm if you need to get up early the next morning. Maybe you don't. Maybe it's the weekend. Then you want to make sure that your alarm is not set. Because the worst thing for me is when the alarm clock goes off at 6:30 in the morning and I don't need to get up. And then the very last thing you will do is you will fall asleep. We sometimes say go to sleep, like I go to sleep at 10 p.m. I think fall asleep is the actual act of going from being awake to being asleep. And then hopefully you don't toss and turn. Hopefully you don't have nightmares or bad dreams. Hopefully after you go to bed you just drift off, which means gradually falling asleep. Hopefully you have beautiful dreams about awesome things in life. That would be really cool. I'm Nima the Persian. I hope you always have good dreams. And don't forget to subscribe and give me a thumbs up if this video helped you learn just a little bit more English.